He's supposed to be watching the live.
Yeah, Dad, I'm busy.
Yeah.
So
he's like, what time are you coming over tomorrow? Sorry.
That's all right. You just started our live video with story about your dad, which is fine. We have 14 viewers watching,
Wow.
So I think that's our highest start.
Yeah. Good for you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so the only thing we need to check and make sure, if someone could comment in the live stream if the audio is coming through okay. Last time we had a little issue with some echo. I can make some adjustments in the software if there's some issue with any issue with the echo. So we'll just leave it at that. But we will go ahead and get started. I figured we'd just start with kind of a catch up on the day in the life of a tree farmer. So let's just kind of go around the room real quick and just talk about what did we do today. I'm assuming everyone worked on their farms just because I did.
Depends on the weather.
Yeah.
So
we did quite a bit on our farm. We mowed a lot. We did a little bit of prep work for the event that we're trying to do in 2 weeks. And then we did some work on our little family campsite and spread some wood chips and stuff. So that's what we did. Gary, what'd you do?
I only spent 2 hours there today. I mowed with a big bush hog, just the open spaces. We have some, a lot of open spaces that do not have trees. And this was the first time I've mowed those areas today. And the pollen was pretty bad, and I was sneezing and rubbing my eyes.
I'm still dealing with that. I took a shower too, and that's not going away. Stan, how about you?
Well, I burned some brush this morning, and that's about all I got done on the tree farm. The rest of the day I spent working on rental issues. So.
Okay.
Nice. Tony?
I actually didn't go to the farm today. I'm going tomorrow. So tomorrow's plan is, it's perfect weather. It's like mid-60s here, which is great. I think we're gonna start doing some cones and a little bit of weed spraying stuff, I think. So
I did some of that today too. Shannon or Brian?
Brian actually worked today, like his real job. And he was traveling out of town to Kansas City area. And our son is graduating from high school in a couple weeks. So I actually didn't do anything on the farm. We had a sort of soggy, rainy day. So I did things to prepare for his graduation party.
Very nice. Good. Well, this is our second live panel, YouTube live here. And I was actually kind of surprised when I put out a survey on my YouTube channel and punted it to a couple of Facebook groups as well and asked what should the topic be this month. And the overwhelming top response was shearing, which I would have never thought that was going to be the winner, just because I assume that's something you've got to see and do, and that's not really something you can get together and talk about. But here we are. We're going to get together and talk about it. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys have to share. I'm a new grower for anyone that's watching that doesn't already know that. My trees, my biggest ones are about 2 feet tall, and I'm not shearing anything yet. Though I've got a couple that are getting a little bushy, and I've considered it. But so I don't have any experience. So I'm leaning heavily on you guys here today to share what you know and as much as we can without actually demonstrating it. And before we get into that, I think it would make sense to go ahead and have each of you introduce yourselves, talk about your farm and what kind of trees you grow and what area of the country you're in. And that way the people who are watching can, take that into account as they hear your different tips and experiences with shearing. So to kick it off, Tony, you're our veteran. You're our returning YouTube live panelist. So why don't you go ahead and show the others here how it's done?
Sure. So my name is Tony Stefani. My farm is Hillside Grocery Tree Farm, located in Michigan, about a half hour southwest of Ann Arbor. I grew up on the farm. We moved out there when I was 10. Land was purchased before I was born, so I kind of grew up with the trees. I think we're probably about 40 acres that are plantable, growing a lot of spruce, fir, and some pine, which we're going to kind of stop doing because they are just, I don't even think worth the hassle. So, I think that's about me.
All right. Who do we want to go next? Shannon, Brian?
We are Brian and Shannon Tharp. We're from Northwest Missouri. The name of our Christmas tree farm is called GT Christmas Tree Farm. And we've started planting trees in about 2007. So we've been planting trees every year since then. So every year we've done 13 years so far of planting Christmas trees every year. We bought this farm together in 2006, have about a little over 50 acres. We have several thousand trees, and our sales have been increasing every year since we started selling them several years ago. We have some Douglas fir, we have some Scotch pine and white pine, and a few spruce.
All right. And I'm taking notes on who has which trees. So say the varieties again.
Well, we have Douglas fir, Scotch pine, white pine, and a few spruce.
Okay.
And then we've experimented with several different varieties of fir because you have to have the right soil conditions and things for those to do well, and otherwise they'll take forever to grow.
All right. Someone commented in the chat that there's a little bit of feedback on the sound. I just made an adjustment, so if you can just let me know if it's any better, that'd be great. Gary, go ahead next.
Okay, I'm Gary Benjamin. Our farm is Hilltop Tree Farm in Conowingo, Maryland. That's in the northeast corner of Maryland. I started working at a tree farm in 1986. My father-in-law owned it. He had another person that was a grower already. And so I just kind of learned from the other grower how to do things. And as the years went by, my father-in-law dropped out and the other grower dropped out, and I took over both their parts. And then like 4 or 5 years ago, I actually acquired the property itself. So I've been doing this for, over 30 years, and I've probably been like the sole proprietor for the last 15. And I have, it's about 25 acres, 18 or so are planted in trees, Douglas fir, concolor fir, white pine, blue spruce, and Canaan fir.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Gary. And Stan.
All right, I'm Stan Cole, and we have Cole's Stony Hill Tree Farm. I purchased this in November of 1986. It was just a rundown farm with a few Christmas trees here that they'd never done anything with. And since then, we've, I guess, managed it to where we have a Christmas shop here. We have the largest Christmas shop in Pennsylvania. We have over 8,000 ornaments in our Christmas shop. We have about 30,000 trees on 30 some acres. The total farm's like 52 acres. We cater to choose and cut, kind of like you guys are headed towards, and experience is what we're after. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of work, and it's always nice to chat with other growers. So I'm looking forward to
Yeah, well, good. And fun fact about Stan, he is a Guinness Book World Record holder for the largest collection of tree stands, right? Yeah.
Yep,
So if you have a question about tree stands, Stan is your man.
There you go.
Yeah.
What kind of trees do you have, Stan?
Oh, we have Douglas fir, blue spruce, and concolor are the ones that we have for Christmas trees. We have Norway spruce and Scotch pine and white pine that we just use in the wreaths.
Right.
Good to know.
Well, good. All right. Well, thanks for the introduction, guys. I'm going to just zoom us right along here because we're almost to the 10-minute mark and we haven't gotten any actual content yet. So we'll get moving.
Good content.
Those of you that are watching, if you can just give this video a like, hit that like button just below this video. That helps our video get distributed out there to other like-minded people. So if you could do that for me, I'd appreciate it. And if you know anyone that you can share this video with to help build our audience in here, it's always nice to have good interaction in these live videos, and the more people we can have in here watching it live, the better. There's always hundreds of people that watch it after the fact, but the more we can have in here in the live one, the better. So appreciate that as well. All right. So the first question that I think every new grower, myself included, really wants to know is, when do you start trimming? And we have trees now that are approaching 2 years old in the ground. They're 2 feet tall. I mentioned some are getting a little bushy, and I think new growers like me in particular get a little anxious, and we want to start trimming. But what do you look for? I know most of the time people say like, oh, around the 3-year mark. But what are you really looking for with a tree in its size or its shape or something else about the tree? If you can share a little bit of insight about how to start and when to start.
Well, I guess I'll start. So I start even earlier than that, even not really to cut anything, but just to walk through the fields and make sure that you're not getting a double leader. Because even if at 4 years old, if that tree started with a double, that tree is now A, lost half its growing energy on something you're going to cut out, and B, like it's just wasted. It's just so always looking for doubles, even when they're, the second year in the field helps. And I think that's one of the biggest things is just to kind of watch that form develop during those young years as well.
Yeah, it's just like, just kind of look at the general shape of the tree. Even at like 2, 3, 4 years old, some trees are going to be wider and fatter at the bottom than others. And if you see something that's a little too wide, maybe snip it here and there and take some of that wideness off. And talking about the leader, when you do snip that, decide which leader you're going to snip off. I would say snip it completely off, like make it disappear. Don't leave like a little 1 inch or a stub or anything. Just get rid of it.
We wait as long as possible to start shearing trees, mainly because I don't like doing it. It's a lot. Usually between 3 and 4 foot, if it has a longer leader, like these guys are saying, no doubles, you want to get out as early as you can. But since we're doing choose and cut, we have the mix of the real little trees in with the taller trees. So you're going down that row anyhow. And it's not like we have separate fields for different size trees. So usually wait until, like I say, 3, 4 feet before we even do anything to them.
So today I was in the field and I saw a tree, and near the bottom, one of the branches was like really long. You would suggest maybe kind of snipping that back to make it more uniform now? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, good question.
That was my
There's a few of those, especially the concolors.
I got lots of them.
Concolors we put in last year. There's quite a few of those. There's just one random branch that's as longer than the tree is tall.
It's really weird.
I try to always pay attention when you're going through and doing your mowing. Just keep it. This will just happen naturally as you're going through and taking care of the grass and the weeds around the trees. But if you want to try to have on that bottom set of branches a good 4 or 5 uniform branches that are sticking out at about the same level, because that's in a few years that's going to be the bottom of somebody's Christmas tree, and you want to try to make sure that those are all doing well. A little bit up off the ground.
Yeah, and actually to that point, that was one of the other questions from another new grower was when do you prefer to kind of trim up the lower branches? Tony, I saw a video where you did your new planting this year and you snipped all the lowest branches before you put them in the ground. Is that common practice, or do you let everything grow as it grows and trim it later, or what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So that was something new I wanted to do this year. We do butt prune them, but that's my least favorite job to do. I don't like doing it. It's just, I don't know. You walk down every tree, you have to get down, cut around real close, then get back up, and it's really, really tedious. And luckily you only have to do it once in the rotation versus pruning, which is every year. But I saw a video of another farm that did it, and it's really easy when you're sitting there just to whip all the maybe bottom 2 whorls off, and hopefully that will keep me from having to do it in the field in a couple of years. So I think it's good. I think it helps with weed control and rodents, the voles and stuff. If they can't get under there and live, then they're not going to be chewing on the bark. So I think it'll help.
Yeah, and like Tony, like for the first time this year, I actually did that myself. In the past, I really didn't want to take the time to do it prior to planting because you got to get every little seedling out of the box,
Right.
and you handle it and snip it.
Yeah.
And it's just a long process. But maybe it is better than waiting until they're in the field. And then as the ones that I didn't do, that are in the field, there's no really particular year or time that I do it. It's kind of like when I feel like I have the energy to
Yeah.
down on the ground and get back up.
Yeah.
The first hour, and then I stop doing it. And some growers actually wait until it's almost time to harvest the trees because they use the bottom branches for greenery, like they use it in their wreathing. So it's like, I think it's pretty much all over the spectrum as to. But I think the answer is yes, you should definitely, basal prune the trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think another thing that I would pay attention to is the candle of the tree. You don't want to wait too long where that thing starts getting more than like 12 inches of growth in a year. That's probably even a little bit too much. But if the candle is really starting to take off, you don't want to let that get too tall before you start pruning. So kind of pay attention and don't be afraid to cut that candle in half at a good 45-degree angle.
And we get a lot of newer growers on our channel. So you want to explain what a candle is?
Yeah.
Yeah, candle.
What's a candle?
It's the very center part of the tree that, is the straightest, tallest part of the Christmas tree.
Which I guess is the same thing as the leader, right?
Leader is what we would call it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And since now we have two terms for the leader and the candle. Along those lines, another question that came up is just the lingo associated with shearing. So I've heard shearing, trimming, pruning. Is there a difference? Does it matter? What are your thoughts, Stan?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call it doesn't
all the
make
same
any
thing.
difference.
All right.
Is your least favorite
I grew up with my
task?
dad and I. Yeah, my dad and I just call it pruning. And then when I kind of got into the industry side of it with the MCTA and stuff, they were like shearing. And I was like, all right, shearing. That's what you guys call
I
it.
guess 'cause of the,
Sounds
like,
more official.
Yeah. Right. I haven't questions.
So the difference I see between like shearing and pruning is like what Brian was talking about, like the leader or the candle, or if you have a double leader or a double candle, cutting those things out and then pruning off the top. I consider that more pruning because you're using your pruning your pruning scissors or your pruning utensils for that. And the shearing is when I see it as taking the whole tree and shaping it into your Christmas tree shape.
Yeah.
Like your shearing knives or your rotary trimmers or whatever you're using for that.
That's how I see it too.
Yeah. So David Danigan commented in the live chat. He's an experienced grower out of Illinois, and he said they do the basal prune. They used to do the basal prune on new seedlings. They quit 15 years ago to minimize open wounds on new trees, but they butt prune all their trees once at year 5. So there you go.
I've never heard of butt pruning. What is that?
I'm gonna guess it's the same thing as basal pruning. It's just on a tree that's more mature in the ground.
We don't do anything to them when we plant them until they're about 3 years old. Except maybe snip off a little bit of the roots if they're too long when we stick them in the ground.
Yeah, that's what we do as well. All right, let's move on here. So as far as timing, and I know we're in different parts of the country and we have different weather, so that's going to impact our timing to a certain degree. But when's the best time to shear is another, I think, common question from us newer growers. So if you can give any insight into how you time when to shear, either based on weather conditions or based on the growth of the trees or something else, what insight can you share on timing? Stan, you want to start us off?
Yeah, well, you want to wait till your leader is pretty well straightened out. It stiffens up after a little bit. And then usually for us, it's around the beginning of July is when we can start shearing. And as far as the time of year, I've sheared all the way up till the spring of the next year, just to get them done before they start growing again. So we try to get them done now in July because we have a corn maze that opens in September, but It used to be, it took me a lot longer when I was doing all myself.
Yeah, I think pines are the critical ones because pines develop their buds at the end of the branches versus fir are kind of scattered. So pines, they say when the new needles grow to be about a length of a 1 inch, that's when it's time to start pruning. For us, that's last year was like, I took pictures actually last year and I was looking, June 22nd seemed to be for us there. And you can tell when it gets too long because the branches are actually getting pretty hard. You're using the knife and you can feel the different resistance. Fir, like he said, once they start getting a little harder and you can whack them, you can do those all the way up until the next growing season. So hello. I'm gonna mute real quick.
Okay.
No.
So cute.
Yeah, same here with pines. Pines, we do those first. You should do those early, like Tony said, late June, early July, depending on where you are. And we usually do spruces next and save the firs to last. So we're talking about like pretty much July, August, shearing, and you can, shear them up until, right before harvest. And the smaller trees, if you don't get to them, you can, like Tony said, you can wait until winter, early spring.
Sorry, did you say the firs and the spruces? You can do pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, the spruces, I usually do those before I do the firs. I let the firs harden up a little more. I think it takes them a little longer to harden up. Whereas the spruces, I can do those in July. Maybe I'll wait till do the firs in August.
Okay.
I think one of the most important things that we do, or that you guys might, you want to wait until that new growth is finished. And then after that, you can look at, setting up a time to do it after that new growth is completed. You don't want to start before that, but you can start after that, but I wouldn't wait too long because like the other guy said, it's a lot easier before they get harder. And then the second way to know is when your shoulder and your elbow start to ache. Then it's time to start going out there and getting to work.
No.
I was going to try something new this year and say, you always have that fir that puts on like that 3-foot leader. I was going to try with a couple of trees this year and say once they get to about 12 is snip them and then see if they'll grow another maybe 2-3 inches and how they develop that top whorl because that top whorl is so pretty, with the one perfect next year's growth and the next, the next branching out. It's too bad to always have to nip that off sometimes. So I'm curious if you cut it early while they're still growing, if it'll still develop that nice whorl. So it might be worth a try.
Let us know.
I think I sheared some firs a little bit early last year and then late in the season, like, August, September, they started getting like new little hair-like growth on them. And that, I don't know if I would call it pretty or not, but yeah. So, let us know how that works out for you this year.
I always tell the kids when we start pruning, guys, just keep this in mind. We're either doing a lot of good or we're doing a lot of damage. You want to hopefully do a lot of good.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what scares
me. So we always hope for a little extra growth in August or so it doesn't look like it's just a sheared tree.
Right.
To grow out a little bit after you do shear it.
Yeah, that was actually a question that I was going to bring up later, but Quinn's Tree Farm brought it up in the live chat, and David Danikin already answered it. As far as shearing for the last year before harvest, his question was, do you shear the last year? I think you've already maybe answered that and say yes, but you shear it maybe with caution, it sounds like. Do you want to talk about shearing it before harvest?
Yeah, so pines definitely yes, because you're shearing in July and they'll already kind of grow out of it. I don't like giving them that hard line the year that they're for the trees that we're going to sell. So I will probably I only do the top work. So I don't have like the multiple leaders and we kind of charge by height. So you don't want to charge someone for that 3-foot leader that may grow. So to get that height consistent for it, but we don't like leaving the I don't know, the branches and the ornaments. They want to hang, not lay on the trees. So we prune very lightly, if at all, during that last year. And if we need to, then we'll come on back after the season, and the ones that didn't sell, then we'll prune them. Yes.
Yeah, we shear everything from 4 foot up to about 10 foot, and then after that, only do the tops once in a while. So it doesn't matter, because I can never tell which trees are going to choose and cut. They just pick whatever one they like. So.
Shear everything. The final year pretty lightly, and this year I left 1 row of Douglas fir and 1 row of painted unsheared, completely unsheared, just because there are a few customers that come in and ask if we have any unsheared.
Yeah.
So I left 1 row each, and then after the selling season, I went and sheared them.
Yeah, I had one person
How many
call.
of that 1 row
I had
went?
one person call last year, said they were looking for an old world style Christmas tree, and I was like, "Can you elaborate on what that is?" And they're like, "We want it to look natural, like it just came out of the field." And I was like, "I got some cedars that like growing along the fence row. You can take those."
If you want to see what those look like, just a couple of the trees that you plant, don't do anything to them, and you'll see over the years how bad a natural tree would look if you didn't shape it.
We saw some at a grower's workshop, because they left a few just for greens for wreaths, they just left them.
They had like 20-foot firs that they were just cutting branches off every year.
Yeah, for green. It was a huge farm.
We sort of have that same thing because we make wreaths here too. And so some of the taller trees, what we call the sort of crazy trees that maybe we didn't get to shear.
Or we can't reach.
Or we can't reach, because we sort of work from the top to the bottom. And we had some years that we didn't quite make it to the area we wanted to make it to. So we've had some people that actually bought those trees that, have multiple candles and sort of look crazy, that we would never think that somebody would buy, but there's people who really like that.
Yeah, they do. You never know.
All right, so let's move into more of the kind of technical details. Let's talk about your preferred shearing method. And I know someone commented about when your arm gets tired, so you must be a shearing knife user.
We use the shearing knives, and we're talking about maybe getting one of those, what did you call it?
Rotary trimmers.
Rotary trimmers, because we've heard some people talk about using those, and I saw a video about it. But yeah, we use the shearing knives, and if anybody wants to know which ones we do, they can message us through our Facebook page or contact us directly. I don't know if you want me to say it on here or not.
And we also have our other tool.
Yeah. Okay. And I'll put links to everyone's farm Facebook page or website in the video description after it publishes. So if anybody wants to reach out to any of the panelists, they can certainly do that. But on the topic of tools, Gary, what's your method?
So my preferred method is the knife. I have a prop.
There you go.
Awesome.
So I like the serrated blade. It's a Brush King. That's fun. And then clippers in the left hand.
Yeah.
And for some of the bigger trees and for some of the pines, I use the rotary trimmer. Also it's called a Beneke. That's the person that invented it. So, but I prefer this because you can clip out some unwanted branches that are growing the wrong way, and then clip the leaders. With the rotary pruner, you've got both hands on it. So all you can do is shear the tree. You can't really, nip and snip without stopping and all that. So that's what I use.
Yeah, I'm with Gary, a knife and little clippers. So I guess one thing I have a question for you, Gary, is I use a straight blade versus serrated because it seems like maybe every 100 trees or so you're resharpening your blade. How does a serrated blade last compared to straight, and how easy and quickly can you sharpen it?
So it seems to me that it lasts longer. I'm not sure why. and I'll shear for at least like 4 to 6 hours before I sharpen it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Nice.
And I only sharpen the back side of it. I don't even sharpen the serrated side. I'm not sure that I know what I'm doing, but it seems to work.
Hey, just talking about this is making my elbow hurt really bad.
Yeah.
Dan, what do you use?
But we started out using the knives, and my shoulder still hurts from doing that some 30 years later. So I gave up on the knife pretty early on. We went to Seiji, or a BD trimmer, which is like an 8-foot sickle bar. And you just walk right around the tree and cut the whole tree at one time. Takes about 15 seconds to do the sides of the tree, and then you have to come back and do the tops.
Yeah, what do you call that style trimmer?
So we have a Seiji.
Yeah, S-A-J-E. Yeah, I've seen those.
J-A, I think it is. And there was a local tree farm that made them. They were called BD trimmers. You can't get those anymore. They went out of business. But I found that's the fastest way for us to do it. We had to use the knives when we used to shear the pines, but again, with the pain in the arm, I just gave up on that real quick. We don't even grow. The pines we grow don't get sheared at all. It's just we use it for wreath material. But doing the tops, then we just use hand shears, like you do on a hedgerow or something. So
yeah,
that's all we do on the tops.
Somebody asked, you trim or shear every tree every year. I'm assuming yes. Once it's like the 3 or 4 year old, yes. The answer is
Yep.
yes.
Yes. Every year.
Every
Yeah.
tree every year. That's
Yeah.
why you choose how many you plant every year, depending upon your lifestyle. And for the growers workshop, the person who asked about that, it was a local thing for Virginia. I don't know if other Christmas tree growers associations do things like that, but the Virginia one definitely does.
I think it definitely strengthens your arms. I'm a therapist, and I can't do it anymore. So thankfully, our kids are older now, college age, and they both are like in college golf. And I think it's because of all the work on the tree farm.
There you go. Yeah, our kids will be prime for shearing when they get bigger.
Right. Yeah, they'll be
Nice
strong.
and strong. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, so we know which tools that we use. So when you're trimming, what are you looking out for, and what do you think, or what should new growers look out for as they're trimming? What are some of the common mistakes that you can see, kind of new growers or people learning to shear for the first time? What are some common mistakes?
I guess one thing that's helped me improve my shearing is you look at how the tree has grown in the past, right? They're kind of going to grow the same. So learning how the tree grows and keeping that in mind, like this tree is going to be 3 years from harvest. So to kind of help it along its way is just kind of keeping that end goal in mind and working toward that and just kind of guiding the tree there, right? You're not going to be able to hammer this tree into what you want, but, just kind of letting nature do its thing and kind of nipping out the ones that kind of are outside of those little boundaries that you're setting for yourself.
I think the most important thing on our farm, in the beginning, I think we, like Brian said, we're doing a whole lot of good, hopefully, maybe bad. You never know. You feel sort of afraid of maybe taking too much off. And I think that was our problem in the beginning, because a lot of our trees in the beginning are very, very fat. I think that we've learned from that over the years, and Brian and the kids have learned how to make the trees thinner, so that we have a variety of sizes. I mean, you have to sort of look at the tree and go with it too, but I think we were afraid to take too much off.
Yeah.
We try to take about half of the new growth off of the sides. And then the leader, try and keep the leader about a foot tall. But some of the kids I have working for me, their foot is anywhere from 3 inches to 18 inches.
Sometimes you just chop that leader right off and you don't mean to.
Yeah, they'll recover. Any mistake you made will be get fixed.
Most of the time they do. That's exactly right. Don't be too hard on yourself, but try to have a vision for what you think somebody is going to make a beautiful Christmas tree, and just stick with it.
Yeah. Or like general rules. So you don't want to cut into old growth, right? For the newer growers. When choosing a leader length, I really look at for a fir or spruce, kind of how many buds are along that leader. Because if it's 16 inches and it has like 2 buds every inch, that'll fill in a couple of years. So you don't need to cut it down. But so there's a lot of things you can't make it a cookie cutter. Every tree is going to be unique and different.
Yeah, but knowing that, I hadn't heard that before about kind of counting how many buds are on the leader. So that's a good tip. David Danigan had a funny thing. He said, "A wise tree farmer told me, never plant more trees than your wife can shear." We probably plant too many then, huh?
I want to shear. It'll depend on my physical therapist.
Yeah.
Recently,
Stacey
I already have a bum arm.
Yeah, she has an arm injury.
Too much mulch.
You have 2 hands.
That's what I said. You can knife with your right arm. Be fine.
Wear that one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went in saying my goal is to lift a Christmas tree by November. Is that doable? And they kind of looked at me funny and they were like, "Right, you want a farm."
I think you guys are doing
Life
great.
goals.
All right, so you're out trimming trees mostly in the heat of the summer, and the most pleasant time of year to be out there doing that. How do you deal with pests and bees in particular?
Gary.
Remember those wild-looking trees that don't get pruned?
Yeah.
Those are the ones you stay away from. Full of bees.
There's a bee's nest under it, huh? Good to know.
Yeah. You'll hear them before you actually feel them. It's kind of interesting. Like last year, I only came across 2 hives, and I only got stung. I don't think I got stung at all last year, so I call that a pretty good win. But those are the ones we just kind of let go until the winter, and then we'll come back and prune. So.
Right.
We had a mild winter, and I was bush hogging the other day and stirred up a nest already, which is crazy to already.
He was hauling in the tractor. I'm like, "What did you do?" Gary, what is?
Yeah, I think we've been pretty fortunate. I don't ever remember getting stung while shearing trees. So
We have hornets, and the hornets start forming their nest, and like Tony said, you can kind of hear them before you see them, but once in a while they'll pop out and sting me right in the forehead or something. I mean, I'm wearing long sleeves, long pants, gloves, and all that, but so everything really exposes my face, and sometimes that's where they sting.
There's a Southern Christmas tree growers Facebook group that I joined, and a lot of those guys grow Leyland cypress, and they shear 2 or 3 times a year. And someone posted a video of them in like an actual bee suit out there shearing.
Oh my God!
Wow.
That would be so hot.
That was my first thought, but I guess be hot or be stung.
Chewable Benadryl tablets. Good call, David.
Yeah.
And I think my daughter would say regarding, not necessarily insects, but she's been out mowing and had snakes up in the tree.
Oh no.
Yeah, you just ruined it for her.
That's not gonna go well with me. I will be ready.
Yeah.
But you're holding a long knife.
Just be aware.
Oh, that's really good to know.
they keep the mice
That's right.
down.
All right, and the last question that we had on our prepared list, and of course, if anybody has additional questions, drop it in the live chat. The last question we had here was, how do you recommend people learn to trim trees? I know we went to a new growers workshop last year. They did a little demonstration for us, but there wasn't any practice there. So what do you recommend people do? Are there additional resources that you can recommend, or some additional steps that people can take to kind of learn how to do this?
Now you have YouTube, so right there.
Are there a lot of videos on
There's
trimming?
There's a couple.
I didn't think there was.
There's a couple.
I think so.
I think the best suggestion is if you join your local association, you can kind of find another choosing cutter, pretty close to you that is willing. If you go and help them prune, they will get more trees pruned, and they're willing to show you how exactly they're doing it. So that'll work out.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. That's a great way to do it. If there's any growers near you, already know what they're doing, just go over there for a couple hours and see what you can learn. It is hard to learn. I've tried teaching people, and after about a half an hour, sometimes I say, okay, let's go do something else, because it's just so hard to teach someone and they're not right, and I don't have enough patience. So.
Hey, Bill and Stacy, you guys are going to learn. I'm sure you guys will be good at it, but it just, like anything else, takes practice.
Thank you.
Practice.
Yeah,
practice.
I'm actually going to try my hand for the first time in a couple weeks. I'm going to another farm. It's about an hour and a half away, but I think he said he's got 40,000 trees in the ground. So
Crazy.
But by the time that's done, I'm sure I'll figure out how to do
be
it.
sharing all of them.
Well, go ahead and order a couple knives that you can take with you and try out, and then you can maybe, if they have the mechanical.
Yeah, he said he had Benekes.
Then you can try those, and you can try both of them, maybe.
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I want to go just to watch it. I don't know if I'll be able to hear.
Right.
You might be good. You might be good at it.
Well, and some people use the big scissors too, which might be a little easier on your shoulders.
Yeah.
So.
Right. Yeah, just do tops.
I'll just do I'll just do the tops.
When we first learned how, we watched videos online, probably YouTube and such, and we just looked things up. We've made a couple videos. They were mostly just for fun, like educational videos of the kids and us doing it in the past.
And Stacy, one thing that we do sometimes, if we have somebody who maybe doesn't feel like they're very good at it, they can learn how to do the candles or the leaders and go ahead of whoever's doing the shearing or the shaping and have the candles done, and they just come behind them and go off where the candle is cut and shape from there.
Yeah, good point.
That I can do.
Let me catch up
Yeah, that's one thing. We kind of do our leaders at a different time than we do our main side. So that's good. So
what do? You save the leaders for later, Tony?
No, I want to do those first. Because if something's growing, if you get a double, while they're actively going, we'll cut out that double, so we're not wasting that growing energy. And then hopefully now you have basically already developed your line for later.
Yep.
And I think it's always key to have that tool with you, even when you're just going on a nice little walk or stroll, or just a ride through your farm, if you have a four-wheeler or whatever. Just have that tool with you. We always kept one in our glove box so that if we saw something odd, like a double leader, we could always just take care of that right on the
Keep
spot.
one on the lawnmower with you too.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm finding I need either hand clippers or loppers with me at all times on the farm. I'm always finding something that I want to cut.
Not just in the trees either. Like
on our trails.
We're building trails and doing all sorts of stuff. Yeah, we always need them. So there's a couple questions in here I want to get to. One was Dan Vander's vet said, I get pines growing 20 or more buds on the top whorl. I feel it's way too thick. Should I thin them out? And to how many? It's hard to even pick a leader. Yeah, that's it.
How do you do that?
So in your pines, when they get thick with new growth, any suggestions?
So when picking a leader, aim for the middle, right? Obviously, and then it took me a while to kind of figure this one out. But ask yourself, what don't you want to be the leader of the tree too? That one really helped eliminate a lot of them for me.
Mm-hmm.
So if a pine has 15 leaders, you're going to have to only pick one. So if you have that many, I don't think it's going to matter what you start whacking away. But at the end of the day, pick one, and that'll be your new guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always go for the tallest, straightest one, and then I cut at least 50% of it off, depending on how tall it is. And then I just eliminate those other ones, except you want to leave, try to leave a little branch on every side that looks like it's going horizontally and less vertically.
Good point. Yeah, some of our Scotch pine that we put in the ground last year, they're like at the top.
They're crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do that.
All right, good to know.
They're probably pretty almost ready for you now, right? Are they?
No, they're still only like 2 feet
Ready to
tall.
start
At
getting
least
them?
one more year, if not 2.
Yeah, they hardly have any laterals. Like this growth that they got this year is like the first growth on their laterals from last year, and they're just starting to shoot up and split out some branches. But yeah, they're really no shape to them yet.
Yeah.
I know this whole like concept of like 12 inches, 16 inches later. I'm like, when does that happen?
Yeah.
We're
haven't seen
seeing
that
like this.
Just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so keep that in mind when you're setting up for pine, because pine don't develop the buds along the side. Where you cut it, that's where that next year's growth is going to start. So got to be a little more careful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are there any trees that does not require shearing? Yeah. Wishful thinking.
Mhm.
hmm.
I mean, like a
don't.
blue spruce doesn't really require, like, in my opinion, it doesn't require like the typical shearing. With a blue spruce, in order to keep it narrow, I kind of just like go in and clip out like branches so that it doesn't get so wide. I look at a wide, if a branch is sticking out, it's really wide, I'll go way back in there and clip it out, just completely get rid of it. To keep the tree narrow. And other than that, I don't really touch the tops of blue spruces.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've given up on cutting blue spruces at all. Just let them go.
Yeah.
They seem to be fine.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's good because they're super prickly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we got some last year as pre-cuts, and that was our first experience, and people liked them.
People asked for them and
and-
said, we're not growing them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when people have heavy ornaments, that's a tree I recommend. It's got real strong
Right.
branches.
Yeah.
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 All right. Well, we're a little over our originally scheduled time. Are you guys all okay if we go another couple minutes? All right.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm fine.
if any other shearing questions come in, we'll address it. But I did want to talk with all you guys. We started our last live video with this topic, but things have evolved a little bit. So I wanted to bring this up again and see where you guys are today. Stan, I know you're heavily impacted with your business with COVID-19 and any restrictions that are placed on businesses and gatherings of groups and all that kind of stuff. So let's talk a little bit about how your business is impacted right now and maybe what you foresee as possible impacts as you get into your summer events or your fall events, and then obviously into the Christmas season. So Stan, I'll let you start because I know you have a store that's not open right now, and
Right.
you've got
Yeah, well, they're putting plexiglass up in these stores around us, and you still got to wear the masks. I don't really want that image for my Christmas shop. So for now, we're just going to stay closed until I don't have plexiglass up to be open. We never had a lot of traffic in the summertime, and with travel being way down, I don't anticipate this year being, a good year anyhow. So we have our online store open. Again, it's slow during the summer, but if they want ornaments, we can pull them and mail them to them. We were affected early because the governor wouldn't let us work like the first week of the shutdown. Nurseries weren't an essential business, and after a week they decided we were. So it got us to a late start with planning. There's some stuff that I wanted to get done earlier that just because of the help we didn't do.
Well, what about getting into the fall? Because you do corn maze and you've got a bunch of other games and activities where people are gathering and touching your
Right.
toys that you have there and
Yeah.
riding the hayride. And what do you see being the impacts there?
Boy, I'm hoping for the best. Our corn maze won't get planted till the middle of June, so I guess that we have a couple weeks to decide for sure if we're not going to be able to do it. But as of right now, we're going to have them planted, and then hope for the best in the fall. I guess if we can't do it, we can't do it. I can't see people coming doing a corn maze wearing a mask. So it doesn't seem like it'll be a good fit.
I did hear one farm was actually making their rows wider so they can maintain that 6 feet different. when they do the maze is cutting it wider so that they could keep the 6 feet apart if they have to pass each other. So that's maybe an idea for you.
Well, I don't know. We hire a company, so I don't have any control over that. And it's all designed, and then they come in and plant the design right into the field. So I can't see that we could make it any wider and still have the same design that we're after. So, I don't see that being an option for us. It might work for some bigger fields, but ours is only 7 acres. So I can't, make the rows wider and still have the designs.
Maybe they'll be adapting their designs. I don't know.
I haven't heard anything to that yet. Tell me that we hire to do it, so I don't know.
Anybody have any other thoughts on topic of impacts on Christmas tree farms?
I think that normally at the Christmas tree farms, it is during like cold and flu season. So one of the things we do is try to often we county. We are a very small rural for us consider that situation.
Yeah, and sorry, Shannon, your connection's going in and out on us, so I'm gonna have somebody else chime in because we can't really. We're getting every other word.
I really wanted to hear.
Sorry about
That's
that.
Okay.
So last time I was still,
go
my
ahead.
day job was put on furlough. So I am back at work now. So the farm is back to the weekends only so a little slower working there. Again, I think I will personally be watching how the orchards are handling it in the fall and kind of taking lessons from them. I know it is a very big topic that the association also is kind of going to try to address and how to watch it. So we're going to take lessons from where we can and apply them as needed. So we will see.
Well, I posted a video the other day, or maybe a week ago now. We went to a U-Pick strawberry farm, and they had everyone there was required to wear masks, even in the field and everything. And there was hand washing station that you had to use before you entered the field, which I thought was a little unusual, but that was how they were handling it. And then when you were in line, they had lines spray painted on the ground to keep people separated 6 feet. So that was their control. We're going to end up putting a hand washing station at our farm because we don't have any other like running water. We don't have any bathrooms or anything. So there's no facilities at all for cleaning. Well, yeah, but for cleaning there's not. So I'm going to make a gravity fed little hand washing station that I think will it'll at least be there for people to use should they choose to use it.
We have hand sanitizer, but we're also not going to have anything that people share touching. So we're not bringing out any of our games that we did just to eliminate the contact, but we're also not going to require masks. Right now in our state, it's required if you're indoors, not outdoors. And I feel like people they can social distance themselves. There's plenty of room on the farm. Cutting wildflowers, once you cut it, nobody else is touching it, so it's fine from that perspective.
Yeah, we were actually.
Well, are they going to bring their own tools to cut
Yes.
the flowers?
That was going to be our
Or how do
recommendation:
you-
is people just bring your own scissors. Yeah, it's all thin stem stuff,
Or you can just
except for
break
sunflowers. Yeah, sunflowers can just be broken. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess, are you guys still having your spring thing you guys?
Yeah,
did
so we
last
did
year
a
or
Spring
something? You
Fest
did a
that
couple
has
of-
already passed. It was canceled,
Couldn't do
but
that.
we're going to open in 2 weekends from now for wildflowers. There's just like wildflowers growing naturally all over our property, so we were labeling that event a bring your own picnic and wildflower foraging event. And I'm labeling it as free, but we'll push donations and we'll sell beverages and we'll sell maybe a few other things. I've got hats and all that kind of stuff, but it's just to do something, and if we can get a little bit of money, that's fine. But I'm not really doing it for the money. I'm just doing it for the experience and to get people out to the farm.
But the July event with the sunflowers and the wildflowers that we planted, free event, but charging for the actual like sunflowers and wildflowers. I'm hoping to get some photographers out too, and get them pay to be there. But it also draws more people, so it's just getting our name back out there because people haven't been to the farm since December or even Fall Fest, so they don't like. We just want to keep that name recognition up because we're so new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the whole photographer thing, I know there was one, actually, I think it was David Danigan who was asking about how to handle photographer bookings and, you know, the kind of policing that or scheduling that and all that. We're figuring that out. So I don't have anything to share on it, but that might be a topic for, you know, another live video, is different ways to monetize your property, you know, throughout the year, or even if you're just trying to do more around the holiday season. You know, thinking of other ways, you know, photographers is definitely one of those ways, and talking with other growers who have experience in doing that, I think would be really beneficial. So that might be an upcoming live episode. So,
yeah, that would be a good one.
Yes, it would. I think if you have a Christmas tree farm, it's something that you are going to get asked a lot. And you just have to decide how you want to.
Yeah, we got calls last year, and we had to tell people like our trees are only this tall. Like,
yeah, we don't really have trees.
You can like lay down next to them and, you know, pose like that. I don't know. Yeah, they're like, yeah, call us in 4 or 5 years.
How many acres of flowers? What was it? A third of an acre?
We have a third of an acre of sunflowers, and then we have, you know, a few hundred square feet of zinnias and 200 square feet of some wildflower mix that we put there, and then there's wildflowers all over our property already, but put in some more wildflowers.
A lot of sunflowers.
Yeah.
We've had, just to share a little bit of a story with you guys, and I know you're short on time, but we've had several couples come out and actually get engaged and propose at our Christmas tree farm. And when they do that, we be sure to give them a free Christmas wreath to take with them when they.
That's a good idea. So they come out at like Christmas time. They're doing that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
And you can look at you know, and you guys will want to talk about, do you want to charge people for that or not? But all we do is we ask them to tag our Christmas tree farm in their photos that they post like on social media, Facebook and stuff like that.
I would agree. Oh, that's sweet.
Very nice. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Let me see if we miss any other. Do you save the trimming from shearing, or just use it for mulch? When you guys trim your trees, you just let everything fall to the ground, leave it. Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Why bother picking that up?
Well, you could take a little bit, and if you have like an outdoor fire, put it in. It'll smell good, but that's about it.
Yeah. I'm not picking it up.
Yeah.
You have to smell it first.
What? No.
You have to smell it first.
Smell the ends when you clip it.
He's starting in Alabama. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, good, guys. This was fun and I think helpful. I learned a couple things from you guys. So at least for me, it was worth my time. And I hope for everybody that was watching, I hope you enjoyed it. And I didn't give any recognition at all, but this is the first time this has ever happened. Jolly Farms, thank you for your super chat contribution. He gave $5 for the information that was shared on this today. Yeah, that's actually real money. So thanks. Yeah.
This stuff boggles my mind.
Yeah, so thanks a lot for that contribution. It is work putting on these YouTube videos, so if we can get a little bit out of it as a return, then I appreciate that. So, but you guys, thanks for your time and thanks for your knowledge and insight and sharing your experience. I really appreciate it. And next time we're up visiting my brother, which is in Newark, Delaware. Gary, maybe we can hit you up and stop by because you're only like half hour away or 40 minutes away.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
We can
We'd be
drive
glad to
through
have you.
Conowingo and go see your aunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys are welcome to come and stay with us anytime. And thank you for doing what you're doing. Just for your information, this is my first Zoom experience.
Oh,
Yay!
Same
look
here.
at that.
Same here.
Stan too.
Yeah,
Good job.
Yeah.
You guys
So
handle it
thank you.
like pros.
you got in flawlessly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Really nice to meet all of you guys. Thank you so much.
yeah, good crew here. So
Nice.
thanks and good luck with your upcoming season, and hope the weather cooperates, and hope your shearing season goes well, and then hopefully business as usual when it comes to Christmas time, and we won't have to fight too many restrictions or anything, given the health crisis. So I don't have anything else to add. Looks like the comments have all wound down. So thanks, guys. I know it's getting late here on the Eastern time, 10 o'clock. So yeah, it's bedtime. So thanks, guys. I'll drop your contact info in the description. So if anybody is watching wants to touch base with anybody on the panel, they'll have the information to do that. So thanks. Have a great night, and see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you.
good
Thank
weekend.
you.
Thank you. Thanks, Phil and Stacy.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.